Hello, welcome to lecture 31 of Game Theory course. Uh, as you know, this is the week 10. Okay, we were talking about the principal agent problem, and I explained that there are two problems in principal agent problem. One is the moral hazard, where people can do some action, but the agent can do something, but he or the agent does not do that and lie that I did it, kind of thing. We call that moral hazard. Okay, the second agent problem would be the adverse selection. Here, the agent cannot do something because when he was born, he lacked that ability. So agent does not have a certain ability, but when the principal asked, do you have that ability? The agent said, yes, he kind of lie. Not kind of, he lies. So, that is another problem. The principal agent problem we are going to talk about here is the moral hazard. And I talked about an example where there is a owner of convenience store, namely Tom, and there is a part-time worker in that convenience store who is Bill. So Tom is the principal, Bill is the agent. And what would be the problem between Tom and Bill? This is kind of very complicated stuff. So before actually solving anything, you really have to understand the setup and the realistic environment. That is why I made this table. This table is key to understand the principal agent problem. So, which is basically I explained a little bit, but then we looked it together. But then probably you understand, but you don't quite memorize everything. But then I'm gonna explain more and more. Eventually, you're gonna understand the circumstance, the environment. Only after that, we are gonna actually mathematically solve the principal agent problem, which, by the way, an application of subgame perfect equilibrium. Okay, don't forget we are in the middle of game theory, and the subgame perfect equilibrium is the topic. Okay, so there are three important variables. Number one, profit. Okay, Tom, the owner of convenience store, he wants profit to be high. Okay, so when I said profit, the principal want them to be high. But part-time worker there, the Bill, actually he does not care. I mean, of course, it would feel good. You work for a convenience store, 7-Eleven, and then the 7-Eleven has a large profit. Okay, the owner is happy. You'd be happy, less stress and everything. But, the profit is the owner's, Tom's, not the part-time worker Bill's. So Bill doesn't have to have any particular reason to be happy about Tom is making a lot of money. Okay? For example, me, Professor Han, working for Yonsei University, I would be, okay if Yonsei University is prosper, famous, and everything. But then, if that does not increase my working condition, namely my salary, big deal. I don't really care whether Yonsei University prosper or anything, unless that prosperity give me higher wage. Okay, so profit is not directly a something that agent cares. Okay, observable decision make. Let's look at the observability. The profit, can we see it? Yes. Like every day, the owner bill check the registry machine, and he found out, oh, we have a lot of profit of maybe $2,000 US dollar a day, or $2,500 a day, so it's measurable. And I said star here at observable because what is important, actually more important than observability, is verifiable. Why am I talking about observable and verifiable? Like I may say to my part-time worker or my TA, oh, the student study very hard, I'm gonna pay you a higher scholarship. But then my TA would say, Professor, what do you mean by students study harder? I said, I just, no. But then my TAs would have problem because they work very hard. They think the students studied hard. But then I came back and said like, oh, I looked at it. The students didn't study hard, so I cannot raise your scholarship. So unless something is observable, you cannot base the evaluation or your wage, whatever, on it. So observability is important because if it's not something observable, you cannot plan on those unobservable things, especially when you have counterpart, the agent and principal. Okay, if they look at it, principal agent look at it, the profit, they recognize principal said, oh, yesterday's profit was 2,000. And the agent said, yes, I confirm. Then they can do something. They can make an agreement. If the profit is 2,000, what's going to be happening in the contract. But then if it's not observable, then, totally difficult to make any contract, any promise on that. That's why observability is important. Verifiable means sometimes something is observable. Sometimes I know my son is not studying very hard. I mean, he's watching a lot of TV and everything. So my observability says somehow this month my son is not studying, trying very hard. However, whenever I say, son, I don't think you're studying very hard, my son's really angry. He said, Father, I'm working really hard. And I said, like, oh, you're watching some TV. I watched some TV, but instead of that, I didn't sleep all at night. Of course, I cannot put CCTV in my son's room. So, I cannot say, no, I know you slept. I cannot say that. So verifiability is, even though I know my son is not studying very hard, that is observable. If I cannot prove that, if I do not have evidence to prove my son did not study very hard, I cannot use the fact that I observed as an evidence to punish my son. So if the part-time worker Bill, Alba Bill, didn't work very hard, and the owner Tom knew that. I mean, his eyes and his behavior, he's not kind and everything. However, if it's not verifiable, Tom cannot say, oh, I look at it, you are not kind to the customer, you are lazy, because of that, I'm gonna reduce your wage or I'm gonna fire you. Then, unless the owner Bill, principal Bill, can prove the fact that his argument that Bill was lazy, Bill was not kind to the customer, the court would say, oh, we cannot acknowledge that in such a vague argument. Based on that, we cannot let Tom to fire Bill. So verifiability is very important. Anyway, profit it's a little bit controversial, but profit can be observed and it's verified. It can be verified. What about effort? This is something, what I have just said, whether Bill try hard or not, that is not observable. Or even though Tom think he knew it, probably he does not knew it, cannot observe it, but even though he feels that he knew it, it's never be verifiable. You cannot fire someone and saying that he's lazy. You can say, oh, he was late for work every day, or he slept, during the work time. That is verifiable, maybe observable, and maybe verifiable. But you cannot say, no, he came to work 9 o'clock on time, never be late. I mean, he didn't sleep, but he was so lazy. I mean, he was so slow. That is not observable. That is not verifiable. Okay, something like that. So this is a problem because the agent problem basically, agent does not work very hard, but he insists I worked hard, kind of lie. Why that lie is possible? Because effort. Whether the agent work hard or not is not observable, it's not verifiable. What about effort? The principal actually does not really care about effort. Principal want the effort better be high. But what principal really cares about profit. Why he cares about if profit is high, even though the worker bill, part-time worker bill is lazy, the principal Tom would never care. But the fact is, there is a relationship for the effort to be high, probably the profit would be high. As I said, you studied for your final exam. If you study more, probably your final exam score would be higher. But probably, it's not guaranteed. Sometimes you studied 10 hours for game theory, you get B. Sometimes you study 5 hours for game theory, you get A. That can happen. However, if you study 10 hours, you are more likely to get A. If you study 5 hours, you are more likely to get not A, something like B or C. Okay? So there is probabilistic relationship between effort and profit. So principal who want a higher profit, that is his goal, would rather have the agent to have a high effort, exert a high effort, but that is indirect thing. That's why I like parenthesis high. What about agent? Agent does not want to work hard, period. I mean, if I get the same salary, if someone asks me like, oh, your salary would be same, would you rather teach 4 courses per semester or 2 courses per semester? My answer, I don't want to teach anything, of course. But if not possible, of course, 2 courses. So the agent here, the convenience store part-time worker Bill, want his effort to be as low as possible unless it has any influence on wage. Okay, who decide the effort level? Agent. Okay, who decide how much you study for game theory? You, not your mom. Your mom wants to study harder, but mom cannot do that. Tom wants Bill to work harder in his convenience store, but Tom cannot decide. It is Bill and it is the student you who decide whether you will have a high effort and low effort. Okay? What about God? I put God. The profit actually decided partially by the effort level, the agent. However, who has the final say? Because you study harder, your grade may be lower. The part-time worker Bill work harder, still the convenience store profit may be lower, or the Bill does not work very hard, but somehow the profit can be high. So basically, it's probabilistic means the God is intervene. God intervenes. So based on effort, God kind of put a trick on that. So sometimes we try harder, the result is bad. Sometimes we don't try very hard, but the result might be better, and it's the God's will. Oh my God. Okay? The last variable is wage. The wage is yes observable. What is my wage? I'm not going to tell you, but every 15th day of the month, I got paid, and the university show me why am I paid so much? Like among my salary, like 10% this, 10% that, 50% that, and things like that, and something like that. So my wage is clearly observable and even verifiable. I mean, the Yonsei University report that to the tax bureau, to the government, and everywhere. So the government knows it, Yonsei University knows it, I know it. Okay, and it's really verifiable. If you cannot be convinced, then go to my bank account, and I say like, Yonsei University say I'm getting paid like 5,000 last month. No. Go to the bank. I was paid like 4,900, and immediately we can see whether it was 5,000 or 4,900. Okay? The principal want the wage to be low. That's one way. Like, how can your profit would be high? The profit is like the sales, okay? And you want to sell more, but you want to pay less for the wage. That way you can make money. What about agent? Oh my God, why am I working for Yonsei University? Not because I love the student, not because I love working. I want to get paid. So I spend the rest of the month for just one day, the 15th of every month, to get paid. Okay, so the agent wants the wage to be high as possible. But then, who decide my wage? Certainly not me. If I can decide my wage, all my trouble will go away. I'll pay myself $1 million every month. Oh, come to think about why 1 million? I'll pay 2 million to me every week. Okay? But then it was not me, it was the principal, it was the president of Yonsei University who decide my wage. Oh my God, and he's not raising it. Okay? So if you go to any company in the future, you work your butt off, but it's not you who decide the wage. It's your boss. It's the CEO of the company, owner of the company who decide. So, in short, the Tom, the principal, want the profit to be high. Because of that, he is kind of appreciate if the effort is high, but Tom cannot decide the effort. Only agent Bill can decide it. So, but the problem is, Tom want them to be kind of high, to have high profit, but Bill, the agent, want it to be low. What about wage? It's, of course, the Bill, the part-time worker, want a high wage. However, unfortunately, it would be decided by Tom, who want the wage to be low. So if you just look at the kind of profit effort together, the principal want them to be high, agent want them to be low. Wage, the principal want them to be low, agent want them to be high. And the effort and profit would be decided by agent and God together. Principal has nothing to do with that. And the wage would be decided by principal. So it's kind of, conflict is destined to be happening, because two important variables like effort and wage, principal agent want the opposite way. And then who decides this? One is decided by agent, one is decided by principal. So both have a power to control that, but not 100%, 50-50%. Okay? And then, moreover, in addition to that, the effort is something that is not observable. Okay? So, I finished this table, but this table is very important. Whenever you got a little bit confused, come back to this table and look at it, and maybe you would have a better understanding what I was talking about. And as a result, better understanding the principal agent problem. Okay, now I'm going to talk about how can we get rid of the principal agent problem. To tell you the truth, if there is any economist in the future who has this enormous way to solve this moral hazard principal agent problem, I can assure you, he or she who solved the problem of moral hazard would get Nobel Prize for economics for sure. Okay, it is such a headache, big problem in economics, and like a conundrum, like a not nobody can see any way to solve it. But surprisingly here, I'm gonna tell you that there are 4 ways to resolve this principal agent problem. Okay, let's look at that. If the effort level E, which I told you is not observable, if that is observable, okay, I have to confess, the 4 solutions I'm going to give you is unrealistic. If that is realistic, I'm not going to tell you I'll get the Nobel Prize. I'll report to the Swedish Academy and get the Nobel Prize tomorrow. But anyway, if the effort level of agent is observable, it's solved. Because the principal agent problem itself is the effort of agent is not as good as, not the same level as the principal wants. So effort agent is getting paid by the principal and promise the principal, because I'm getting paid, I'll do what you want. However, the problem is he sometimes don't. More often than not, the agent break the promise, does not do the due effort. This can be solved if the agent can lie. Principal said, oh, you didn't try very hard. Son, you didn't study very hard for game theory final exam. Son said, no, mom, I tried very hard. But if mom said, no, I have a CCTV on your room and you dozing off and everything, she has all this evidence, and then there's no way but the son or the convenience store part-time worker should work hard. Otherwise, he would be fired, he would be punished, no money, something like that. So, if the effort level of agent is observable and verifiable, then by setting the wage as a function, if you're a mom, you can beat up your son for not studying very hard. But what if you are an owner of company and you have workers who don't work very hard? But if you can see their effort level, what you can do is have a contract. I can see your effort. If your effort is low, I'm not going to pay anything for that month. So your salary would be 0. I want your effort to be 100. If it's 100 or above, I'll pay your salary that month. But if your effort is like not 100, like 99.9 or below, then you will get nothing for that month. Something like that. Then, I'm quite sure every worker, every employee would try at least 100 so that he will get paid. Or otherwise, they will quit the job because getting paid 0, what is the point of working there? So that kind of like a waging system, payment system would be possible to make all the agent to do exactly what the principal want them to be. Okay? So that is a solution to the principal agent problem. The name for that is, but this is unrealistic, because in real life, there's an asymmetric information principle. Asymmetric means only one side knows the information. Okay, so the effort level of the agent, how hard Bill tried last night at the convenience store 7-Eleven, Bill knows it, Tom, the owner Tom, does not. So the information is available to Bill, but not available to Tom. So it's not symmetric. That means not symmetric, meaning it's asymmetric, means it's not symmetric because Tom does not have it, Bill has it, the information. So in reality, the asymmetric information exists. So effort level cannot be observed, cannot be verified. As long as that is the fact, we cannot apply solution 1 to solve moral hazard principal agent problem. Okay, this is the end of lecture 31. We are going to look at the other solution 2, solution 3, solution 4 in the following lecture. Thank you.